The British sociologist Herbert Spencer's evolutionary theories were popular in late 19th century America. It was actually Spencer, not Charles Darwin, who coined the famous term survival of the fittest, an idea that was later infamously abused as part of social Darwinism. Wright's mentor, Louis Sullivan, was particularly taken with Spencer's emphasis on the functional adaptation of the parts of a living organism. But this too was widely misinterpreted in the questionable architectural motto, form follows function. In his own building, Sullivan expressed the functional specialization of parts in living organisms as formal differentiation. In the case of the Carson Pirie Scott department store, for example, this meant different external treatments for the entrance, the first floor, the departments, and the attic. Compared to Sullivan's, Wright's expression of organic form was highly geometric. There must, therefore, have been a powerful reason for Wright's radical departure from his mentor. That reason, I believe, came by the Chicago architect Joseph Lyman Silsby. Silsby was Wright's first employer before he joined Adler and Sullivan, who he had met in 1886 when they worked together on a Unitarian chapel for Wright's uncle, Jenkins Lloyd Jones. Silsby's importance for the 19-year-old Wright was not so much what as who he knew. Silsby's first cousin happened to be the leading Western authority on Japanese art at the time, Ernest Fenollosa, who occasionally stayed with Silsby in Chicago and who Wright later praised in his autobiography. Fenollosa interpreted Japanese art as an exemplar of the organic form described by Immanuel Kant, in which all the parts are mutually interdependent and which as a result has an aesthetic appeal that does not depend on any knowledge of its functions. The same idea ran throughout Wright's own account of the Japanese woodblock print. The formal expression of both the individual part and its interdependence on other parts underlying Kant's notion of organic wholeness was manifested in Wright's work primarily through the overlapping and interlocking of forms. Some of the interlocking forms Wright used to express the idea of the interdependent organic whole may have derived from the graphic interpretation of Fenollosa's theory published by his colleague Arthur Dow in the 1899 art text Composition. Several of the interlocking square patterns illustrated in Composition were inspired by Sino-Japanese decorative designs, which Dow described as illustrating how an organic whole possesses an apparent purposiveness that can be appreciated aesthetically without any knowledge of its actual purpose. The 5 interlocking square pattern illustrated in Composition may have formed the basis of the organic decoration on Wright's 1923 storehouse, for example. More significantly, the expression of organic interdependence as interlock may have inspired Wright's signature interpenetrating spaces. Here, for example, in the model home he designed for Life magazine in 1937. Wright's architectural organisms also express their interdependence with their surroundings by spatially overlapping with exterior space, often via his famous corner windows. Wright's destruction of the architectural box may have been encouraged by the breaking of the two-dimensional picture frame in woodblock prints by Hokusai and Hiroshige, which Wright often reproduced in his own architectural renderings. In the case of the Winslow House drawing, for example, this involved obscuring or erasing large parts of the picture frame. In other prints and renderings, the impression was that natural and pictorial space were continuous, was conveyed by objects physically breaching the picture frame. Initially in his renderings, but eventually in his architectural plans as well, Wright wanted to erase what he regarded as the false separation of the made and the natural. At Falling Water, for example, there is almost no distinction between the architectural organism and its natural environment. Individual expression and interdependence was also inherent in Wright's notion of an ideal democracy. Here, for example, expressed in the words of Herbert Spencer. For Wright, individual expression and interdependence permeated all organic forms, from living organisms to works of art and social institutions. Wright's ideal of an organic world, then, might be seen as a continuous matrix of individually expressed, yet ultimately interdependent parts. Thank you.